The other two ways to manage risk, building an enduring portfolio and creating safeguards around us, are almost physical, tangible things. They may not all exist in our physical world, but we can see our investments and we can see our emergency fund or insurance coverage. We know that they exist and can point to proof that they exist. But our behavior isn't so obvious, because for the most part, it's invisible work. It's not as straightforward to quantify. It's the unsung hero, the thing that's easy to overlook, but it's what makes everything we do and everything we want to do possible. Without the correct behavior, it doesn't really matter what else we do, we're doomed to fail. Establishing the correct behavior starts with disconnecting ourselves from how we want the world to work and instead aligning ourselves with how the world actually works. We can have a lot of misconceptions about investing that we've inherited from others or believe are true based on our own experiences, regardless of whether or not those experiences are representative. If we're trying to move forward in a world focused on an inaccurate perception, we'll have no idea what is actually considered normal, or how to behave when those completely normal things are happening. For example, if we are looking at the S&P 500, about 65% of calendar years experience a drop of at least 10%, and about 25% of calendar years experience a drop of at least 20%. If we don't know anything about investing or what has been normal, experiencing a drop of any amount might make us feel afraid and vulnerable. These feelings can be magnified by news headlines and the conversations we hear around us. When we feel afraid, it's a normal human instinct to want to change that feeling. This usually leads to us making a change to minimize or completely remove the problem. If we view normal and expected market volatility as a problem, we're likely going to want to exit the market or change how we invest. Two things that ultimately go against how we most want to behave. The S&P 500 has recovered from every crash that it has ever experienced throughout its history. If we look back at the past 100 years, it has been some of the most volatile times in human history. And in spite of that, markets have not only recovered, but have gone on to set higher and higher all-time highs. In order to build wealth, the best thing we can do is start investing properly and continue investing properly, regardless of what the market is doing. This leads us to a really big idea. If we're investing properly, there's nothing that the market can do that will cause our own failure. When we understand this idea, it becomes a game changer. We no longer have to be worried about our investments or our financial future. We don't have to waste our time thinking about short-term uncertainty or entertaining the doom and gloom predictions of news headlines or TV personalities, both of whom, by the way, are playing a different game than you are. They aren't concerned about your financial goals or your investments. They're trying to sell copies, generate ad revenue, and capture your attention. It might feel like we're gaining useful information and getting further ahead, but it's more likely to do the opposite. We can arrive at this conclusion based on the fact that most active managers underperform the market, and most investors underperform the fund they're actually invested in. This is due to human error, chasing performance, and the fact that no one knows what will happen in the future. The best prediction for any given year is that the market might be up, or it might be down. But to say which, or by how much, is just a guess, and it can't be taken as more than that. All we know is that the market is up more than it is down, and the longer we invest for, the better our results get. And we can expect this to continue being true in the future because we invest in governments, real estate, and companies that we work at and use every single day. A world where the stock market drops to zero is one where none of these things exist. When we properly understand what risk means as investors, it can put us in a better position to be able to differentiate between what does and does not matter, and what's within or outside of our control. This is really important because if we're spending our time focusing on things that don't matter and are outside of our control, it usually means we're ignoring things that do matter that are within our control. Knowing what has been normal in the past allows us to have more accurate expectations for what might be normal in the future. So when those completely normal things happen, we can act rationally while ignoring the noise that hopes that we act differently. Most often, the biggest mistakes investors make come from a lack of understanding. We think that we know, but we actually don't. This is dangerous because mistakes compound in the wrong direction, and we can quickly erase years or even decades of good decisions in compounding in the right direction. Warren Buffett famously said, "It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it." If you think about that, you'll do things differently. We can take this quote and apply it to our investments. It can take 20 years of investing and making the right decisions to really start to feel the wealth that you're ultimately building. And a bad decision, like selling to lock in losses, chasing a hot stock on the way down, or betting it all on something that doesn't deserve a dime, can lead you to financial ruin. If investing success is all about doing the right things for a very long period of time, a unique and specific financial plan should show us what those right things are. It should take into consideration the reality of the markets and how it all works, and provide us with a clear path towards what matters most to us. And that just might be the best way that we can measure our behavior on the way towards our success. When we don't know what matters most to us or what would make us happiest, it's easy to believe that just about anything could be the answer. This can lead us down a path of wasteful spending and ultimately regret. The goal here is that we want to be making intentional decisions and not just going with the flow, resulting in decisions that we look back later on with regret. When we know what matters most and what we want to work towards, we can make decisions each and every day that are aligned with it. This can help shape our behavior, prioritizing what we want most instead of what we want in the moment. By making better and more meaningful decisions, we can ensure that our future selves look back and thank us for the decisions that we made, instead of questioning what we were thinking. But it all starts with having an accurate idea of how the world actually works, knowing what matters most to us, and what we most want to accomplish during our lives.